Welcome to the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, where we bring you a weekly dose of powerlifting news, tips, and training advice with a touch of 80s rock ballads. This podcast is presented by Team Roar Powerlifting, your source of the most comprehensive coaching and meet day preparation. Here are your hosts, Josh Rohr and Laura Sturm.
Welcome to episode 226. How are you, Josh?
I'm good. That is episode 102.5 kilos for those that are wondering.
Thank you for
I'm
that.
doing good. But we have an exciting episode. I think we have Dr. John Rusin with us today. He's the author of Pain Free Performance. He's also the founder of the Pain Free Performance Specialist certification. And he's a pretty widely sought after coach for a lot of elite lifters. John, welcome to the show.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So what did I miss in the intro? Because I just read a quick line off of Google. So I want you to fill in the in-between stuff.
I've been coaching for almost 20 years at this point in time, and specific to your all's focus, powerlifting has been a key focus over the last decade or so. I moved to Madison, Wisconsin from Southern California, and no longer did we have pro sports. So I went out looking for the best athletes in the state of Wisconsin. And they weren't football players and they weren't basketball players. The strongest people in the state were powerlifters. And I think that's where really I cut my teeth and got more seriously about coaching barbell sport about a decade ago. And it's been a wild ride ever since.
Nice. So just a couple things, like just to start off, I'm curious, like, how did you, well, one, let's talk about the book a little bit. Like, you got a new book. It's available now, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so I got a copy of it. I have not read the whole thing yet, but I did kind of go through it. It looks pretty darn thorough. So what is the target market with that? Is it other clinicians, other trainers? Is it like everyday people? Is it too complex for everyday people to figure out? Like, who do you want the book to be in the hands of, I guess?
I want the book to be in the hands of everybody. So we have a decade of running the Pain Free Performance Specialist certification. So that's professional continued education and certifications for physical therapists, strength coaches, barbell sport athletes, and also physicians that come through. But I think taking that curriculum and making it manageable for the average person that just wants to train hard, they want to get results, but number one, they want to be pain-free and healthy. That was the big focus of bringing pain-free performance into the book form after almost 1,000 in-person 2-day certification courses with professionals.
So from a powerlifting standpoint, I'd say there's a meme that goes around that's like the guy, the powerlifter's at the doctor, and there's a picture of him asking how's it go? I should shit. The doctor's asking like how much pain you feel. And he says, well, I feel the normal amount of pain. And the doctor's like, the normal amount of pain is 0. And then the guy's face is like,
Yeah.
you can tell he's like panicking. So I think that's a pretty common theme with powerlifters. Like there's the normal amount of pain. Is that accurate, or is that a misconception that powerlifters are just missing the boat somewhere?
I think powerlifters are hurt. They are in a huge amount of pain, and I don't necessarily think it has to be that way. When I first started working with elite powerlifters, not people that were just fucking around, squat, bench, and deadlift, but people that were going for world records, people that were in their third decade of competing and really pushing the limits, I think that these athletes and these barbell sport enthusiasts were people that loved to do what they love to do, which was being able to lift heavy weights, to be able to feel the strain, and to be able to get off on that because there is something magical and amazing about that. But I don't necessarily think that we need to be in pain on a daily basis. I don't think that we need to be dysfunctional, not being able to tie our shoes or being able to walk down to our mailbox just because we had a really awesome deadlift session that we hit a PR and then we had to be wheeled out of the gym after. I don't think that no pain, no gain mentality is mutually exclusive to being able to perform at the highest levels. And unfortunately, a lot of powerlifters learn that the hard way. They learn that through marked pain, debilitating injuries, and having to sit out on their focus and their hobby, which is going in and being able to compete or at least practice the sport that they love.
Very true. So how does mobility figure into excuse me, into, I don't know, the staying pain-free?
Mobility is one of six core physical characteristics that we need to be maintaining for life. Not just for powerlifting, but to actually live a great life outside of hitting your PRs in the gym. I don't think it's a be all end all to everything pain free or injury free, but it's definitely one of those pieces that many people neglect. When it comes to barbell sport, I think mobility is something that is a foreign language to many. We have just enough mobility to get down to the bar out of a sumo stance position. We have just enough mobility in the shoulders to touch the bar to our chest out of a huge arch. We have just enough mobility to hit that 90-degree angle at the hips and be able to come up out to get to competition depth. But there's a big difference between your sport specific movements in squat, bench, and deadlift and the way that your body was designed to be able to move at a full range of motion in every foundational movement pattern, but also at every key joint. And these two things need to go together because, in my experience, the more that we can unlock somebody's movement system as a human, the stronger that we can get in some of these unique positions. And then the entire system gets stronger when we push into specialty positions with their sport specific lifts. And mobility is not just stretching, it's not just foam rolling. It's being able to train full ranges of motion in certain ancillary lifts. It's being able to go in and look at isolation and compound movements and accessories that are training different positions that you normally wouldn't get in your squat, bench, and deadlift. And more than anything, it's just trying to be a little bit more well-rounded with the approach of preparation, and then on off days to be able to make sure that we're recovering, but also just getting the movement system as strong and as resilient as possible so we can withstand the stress of a really tough sport.
That's a great point.
All right, so just full disclosure, this is gonna have some awkward pauses. We're gonna be all over the place. This is just how we do it.
It's all good. It's all good.
And I'm leaving this in the episode, by the way, because everybody is familiar with the outcomes.
They know.
They know, yeah. But so I want to know a couple things. It's unrelated to what we just were talking about so far a little bit, but like, what did you want to be when you grew up when you were 10? And how did you get from there to where you are now as one of the like a very highly sought after expert in a lot of fields with strength conditioning, rehab, physical therapy, all those things? Like, how'd you get from point A to point B?
Yeah, I'll drop you into my life at 10. My life at 10 was living in a house of Dr. and Dr. Rusin. My dad was an athletic director. He was also a professor at University of Buffalo. He was the man. He was in charge of health curriculum, physical education curriculum, and his big focus was athletics. So he had 27 schools, and I was at every sporting event. I was in the weight room from 1 year old on, and I loved every second of that. On the opposite end of my own household, I have my mom, who is a university professor, and she was running curriculum for doctorate programs, nurse practitioning programs, all the way down into associate's programs. So I had like this really interesting combination of like high performance athletics with my dad at all times. That's what I love to do. But then every now and then it's like dad was busy. So I was over at the college with my mom, and I was sitting around listening to extremely intelligent people speak about a myriad of different topics that I never even knew existed. And I thought that was the coolest thing in the world because I was an athlete. And in my household, it was about sports and academics, and I couldn't do one without the other. So if my grades weren't great, I wasn't going out and playing sports. If I wasn't performing in my sports, I was going home and I was doubling down on the academics because, it was really a one size fits all for my mentality early on with those influences. But I think that led me to playing three sports in high school. It led me to a Division I baseball scholarship. I was an All-American at that point in time. And that led me to getting hurt and having to struggle through my own injuries, my own career-ending injuries. Interesting thing about me is I have one of the most unique injury profiles of anyone who I've ever dealt with. I have bilateral UCL tears in my elbow. One throwing, one non-throwing injury. And that's what ended up ending my baseball career. And I didn't go through surgery, and I ended up back in the weight room, and I ended up taking my first job as a Division I strength and conditioning coach. And it was very selfish at that point in time, but I wanted to learn about my body. I wanted to learn how to bulletproof. I wanted to learn how to put back my pieces because I think that I blamed my lack of health for the reason that I didn't want to get to where I ultimately wanted to be. At 10 years old, I wanted to be playing in Yankee Stadium. I wanted to be going out and winning World Series. I wanted to be playing baseball at the highest of levels. And that stuck with me for probably 5 to 7 years after I stopped playing. And interestingly enough, that pushed me through graduate school, that pushed me into a doctorate program, and that pushed me right back into trying to still chase that dream as an early on professional, working predominantly with baseball players. So I left graduate school. I did a residency in Southern California, and this was all with high performance athletes. We were working with a lot of quarterbacks and a lot of baseball players at the time in their off-season programming. And that's where I really cut my teeth in the industry. But it was really still that same chase as a 10-year-old wanting to be a winner on the baseball field. And I thought, hey, I'm not playing anymore, but there must be a different path for me. And this path is being able to be strength and conditioning coach, be able to have hybridized physical therapy, keeping people healthy, getting them at the top level so they can go compete and I can at least have a hand in that feeling of being at the highest level. But, that took me my first 10 years of my career and I loved every single second of it.
That's interesting background. Like, so that kind of connects some of the dots for me, at least, like, because my curiosity is like, I'm a powerlifting coach.
Yeah.
I have a degree in exercise science, but you've gone and created your own certification. You have a lot of these different things. You got a published book. Like, is that so? Is there more than one? This is your main one, right?
Yeah, this is the beast that took 3 years to write, and I don't know if there's going to be another one coming after getting this bad boy to print. I think it's so big and so robust that you could literally like use it as a weight to do bicep curls if you really wanted. Anyone who gets that in your hands, you're going to be like, holy shit, we're not just talking about like a self-published piece of shit here. We're talking about like one of the most complete resources that's ever been released in terms of strength and conditioning.
Yeah. So it's funny because they sent me a copy of your book to kind of preview before, and when it came, it was actually a real thin, high protein cookbook. And
Okay,
I'm
do you want
like,
to hear a great story? Do you want to hear a great story? So
yes.
we have the distribution house, Victory Belt Publications. They're the best. They are responsible for some of the best books ever created in the space, and I was excited to work with them. But everything's in the distribution house, and all the books that they've had thousands of books go out, and they all have different SKUs on them. So probably like 3 or 4 weeks ago, all of a sudden we're sending them out to you guys. We're sending them out to different sports teams. We're all really excited because the word's getting out. Pain Free Performance is finally in people's hands, and I'm from Buffalo, New York, so I'm a diehard Bills fan. Like I grew up with the Bills. In graduate school, I did a residency with the Bills at their training camp. I had season tickets at one point in time, and one of the proudest moments was that the Bills staff they requested a box of books for their athletic trainers, for their strength and conditioning coaches, and their team physicians. And I was like, fuck yes. Like, this is one of those things where you're like, yes, I've made it. Like all this other stuff. I finally made it. The Bills want my book after being in that ecosystem for 2.5 decades. And I get a text message from one of their rehab staff that I'm slightly friendly with. And he took a picture, and it was a high protein cookbook. And there were 6 of them sitting in a box, and the Bills logo was in the back. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. But I knew this was a problem because I had about 50 of those protein books sent to me about a week beforehand because I was supposed to get more and more books of my own. And I was like, holy shit. So he goes, hey, man, I'm just going to rebox this. I'm going to put it back in my trunk. I'm going to act like this never happened because I'll probably get fired if I go to distribute a protein cookbook. And I was like, a couple days later, they had the Pain Free Performance book. Everything was all good. But I was like, holy shit, what are the chances of that happening? And it did happen to a couple of people.
Yeah, I was one of them. But full disclosure, like I actually kind of like the cookbook too, so I'm gonna actually utilize it. But yeah, but I
low
emailed,
carb, high protein, you can't go wrong.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I emailed them back, and like they overnighted the correct book. So I mean, they were super nice. Like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, blah blah blah. But that's funny that it's not just me that it happened to. I mean, it's not funny. I guess maybe it's funny now, but probably not at the time. You're probably like, what the fuck?
Well, part of writing a book is like you put your life's work into one resource. And I don't think that there's anything to prepare somebody, a first time author, for the absolute shitstorm that you're about to incur for years at a time. It's like every single morning I wake up, especially the last couple months since the book was in pre-order and now it's available all places books are sold. You wake up to these messages and you wake up to these emails and these DMs and you're like, holy shit, I didn't see this coming down the pipeline today. The bills having the cookbook was that day. And I just look over to my wife. I'm like, hey, this is what writing a book's all about. Just like withstanding the challenges of a day to day. Things that you would have never thought would be a problem are some of the most injurious things mentally that you could possibly do.
Yeah, that's a good
Nice.
story. I like it. So are the Bills legit Super Bowl contenders this year?
Not after yesterday. Another
Yeah.
loss to the Dolphins of all people. I think that they'll pull it together. We got the X factor. We got Josh Allen. I'll take him almost over almost anybody. And
Yeah.
again, like I think you just need to make it to the playoffs the way that the NFL is today. If you can go in healthy, that's the name of the game. We're doing okay on that side of things. And as long as you can have your big game players come up and you have the health behind them, I think anything's possible.
I asked because I'm a lifelong Cleveland Browns fan, so I
Sorry for your
understand
loss.
yeah, I understand the heartache that you've experienced for a long time. So like at this point, I'm pulling for the Bills because I know that fan base, like they deserve, as does Cleveland, they deserve a winner. So I'm pulling for them.
For sure.
Side note there. So when you see me on a day to day and I'm sad on like Monday and Tuesday, that's why, because the Browns played on Sunday. Anyway, so just kind of circling back with powerlifting specific, because that's kind of where a lot of our listeners are, I guess, what they're into. Do you think powerlifting as a sport kind of underutilizes movement variability and over glorifies specificity, or what do you think powerlifters as a whole do wrong? Or however, your own words, like, what do you on that topic? What are your thoughts?
I'm not going to bucket all power lifters together because it's definitely not a one size fit all approach to being able to go in and squat, bench, and deadlift. I came up at University of Buffalo as my first entry into the industry with a West Side barbell for athletes style approach. So powerlifting has always been in my arsenal because that is how you get strong. That is going to be the number one thing to be able to put load on the system and be able to have strength be the key physical characteristic that has a positive adaptation for almost every other characteristic. But I do think that there's like two polarizing camps in powerlifting today. You have more the old school, which I would be, which is, hey, we're using a more hybridized approach. We have muscular strength, we have hypertrophy, we have power elements, we have functional elements between strongman and GPP, and we have a more well-rounded approach to being able to go in and powerlift. We throw back the principles from people like Dave Tate, an ex-client of mine, Elite FTS, Louis Simmons, and you're like, wow, okay, that is the old school approach, which is, I think, a really smart and intelligent approach. But I'm also biased because those are a lot of my mentors coming up. And I've seen a huge amount of success with my career and with my athletes utilizing this type of approach. And then you fast forward like 20 years and we have this like new style approach. We have, I call it woke powerlifting. Woke powerlifting means that you're just going to squat, bench, and dead, and that is all you're going to do. And you're not going to worry about any variance. You're not going to do any sort of periodized play. All you're going to do is do the movements because that is what you think is simple enough to be able to go in and get big and get strong and do everything for everybody. I joke around that this new age of power lifter that does no warm-ups, they do no accessory work, they do no recovery, they do no cardio or conditioning or movement variability. It is probably the thing that will lead to these people burning out the quickest. And I see it every single day because I live in Madison, Wisconsin, one of the biggest college towns in the country. And we have a powerlifting culture in the state of Wisconsin. And we see a lot of these 18 to 21-year-olds going in and doing programs that you couldn't believe. And then you see the 40-year-old next to them who has some training experience. They have some life experience. They know that they need to do some different things in order to get to 40 and actually continue to do what they love to do. And it's like, hey, either an injury is going to stop this person and make a change for them, or it's going to be something that they move on to another hobby that they want to do. But I just don't see that the new age of simplistic simplistic powerlifting is going to stand test of time. I think the things that do stand the test of time are the things that are backed on principles of exercise science, of physiology, of anatomy, of biomechanics. And I think what's old is going to become new and popular again. We just need to wait probably 3 to 5 years.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that's very accurate. I mean, I see a lot of people. So yeah, doing the high volume, high frequency squat, bench, deadlift, and that's all you do. Like that can make those three lifts improve fairly quickly. But then what happens? The rest of your body is not strong enough to support it, and you get overuse injuries. Other things break. And people burn out or get hurt. And I've seen a lot of really good lifters that could be all time greats. Just they're a flash in the pan. They're around for 3, 4 years maybe, and then they're just poof gone. Because they just got sick of it because they got tired of doing it so much and just pushing so hard and doing the same thing over and over. Or B, they got hurt and just they were forced out. So yeah, I think
I think there's a lot of missed opportunity. There's a lot of missed opportunity to be able to go in and do this for a longer period of time. The power lifters that I manage and the ones that are the most successful, the ones that go in and hit PRs in competition and then walk out of competition feeling good and go right back into an off season the next week are the ones that take things seriously. They take it more intelligently, and they know that they need to earn the right to be able to do this for years, if not decades at a time, by doing some shit that's probably not super sexy. The sexiest thing in the world for a power lifter is to go in and hit your big three and hit PRs with that. I totally understand it, and I'm built mentally exactly the same way. But I know, at close to 40 years old myself, with almost 25 years of lifting experience, a lot of heavy barbell work, is that you need to be able to have a better long-term play for being able to continuously hit those big milestones in terms of your PRs. We stopped talking about PRs for my non-powerlifting clients, so we talk about pain-free PRs now. There's two totally different things. There's going in and hitting a weight on the bar and breaking your body in the process, and there's going in and having a longer-term structure of where you want to get, hitting those PRs that are a little slower moving but far more sustainable. But I don't think that either one of those has to be mutually exclusive. Many of the powerlifters that come to me, it's probably like the worst day in their life. They're like, man, I got to go see John. I know he's going to tell me not to do this, this, and this. And we're going to go into a movement pattern rebuild, and we're going to start doing more mobility. And we're probably going to integrate cardio to be able to get our capacities up. But they know that they need to do it because they're doing one of two things. They're either plateaued out for years at a time, they're frustrated and about to quit, or they are injured and they are unable to even get into the gym and train. And these are bad scenarios for powerlifters or really for anyone. When you take away the thing that you love to do, it's a bad situation for mental, physical, and emotional health. So one of my big things is being able to go through rebuilding processes, give power lifters a true off season where we can identify their weak links, we can strengthen them up, we can get them healthy, and then we can push them into their preseason prep to be able to feel as good as possible, knowing very well that the specificity of the movements and also the intensity is going to linearly go up in terms of the way that we're going to be programming things. But I've always been a big believer. It's like, no matter what sport you're doing, we have to have a true off season. We have to have a preseason, and we have to have an in season. This is fundamental to working with any sort of athlete. Just because you're a power lifter doesn't mean that you're not an athlete that needs to adhere to these basic programming principles.
yeah. So the thing I hear all the time is there is no off season, and I think that's right. I mean, that's the mentality of, I want to squat, bench, and deadlift heavy all the time because I'm going to work harder than anybody else. And I think that's where people go wrong is, I mean, off season doesn't mean you're laying on your couch doing nothing. I mean, that means you're addressing different aspects of, like you mentioned, your weak links and figuring out like what are your most vulnerable things that need to be addressed now, because you can't necessarily make that your priority when you're 6 weeks out from a meet, right? It's too late at that point.
Exactly right. So I look at an off season for being anywhere from 4 to 8 months for powerlifters. 4 to 8 months is devoted into simply getting healthy and then getting strong in positions that are not going to only be able to transfer back into your barbell positions, but also just make you a more strong and resilient human being that can withstand higher stress when we get into that preseason prep. So this doesn't mean, hey, we're not going to squat. We're probably going to squat with a safety squat bar. We maybe have heel wedges in. We're on something that gives us more depth and range of motion. Maybe if you're a narrow stance squatter, we're going to put you out wide to be able to mobilize adductors. We're going to utilize the rule of opposites. And this is super unsexy for that new age of powerlifter today. They go, everything has to be very specific to this particular movement and this particular execution style. I don't believe in that. I do believe in that getting them into preseason prep and obviously into competition. The rule of specificity definitely holds up in those scenarios. But in off season, what are you not naturally getting for your specific squat, bench, and dead technique? That's how we're going to fill the gaps. We are going to make sure that if you have gaping holes, we're going to close them down as much as possible. And this ends up being able to make them a little bit more well-rounded. And we get back to the basics, which is being able to be strong, being able to be powerful, being able to put on muscle mass in the right spots, being able to have the skill and the stability to be able to transfer these skills back into where you want them, and simply to feel better and get out of pain. Because I've seen, especially with powerlifters, the number one potentiator for them going in and getting to the level that they want to get, if they're competing or even if they're not competing, is them being able to train hard enough for long enough at enough intensity where they can actually withstand the stress of their training so they can go in and earn their PR. If you're unable to train hard or you're unable to train consistently because you're always hurt and broken down, it's going to be very difficult to peak your PRs.
So what would you tell a new barbell coach? Like what would be your advice to them?
New barbell coach would be, yes, we need to be able to go in and teach the fundamentals of squat, bench, and deadlift. If that is indeed your client's goal, that needs to happen very quickly. But it can't be the only thing. This is the big mistake that I see being made today is that we go, oh, let's start with just a bar on your back. Oh, let's just start with a bar on the ground and we'll learn how to deadlift. Well, that doesn't allow somebody to get strong. It doesn't allow somebody to build muscle. It's essentially just going through the motions and practicing something. I thought it was dumb as shit when I was back in an athlete and I was, 15 years old going into the weight room for the first time and somebody has me practicing with a fucking dowel. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm practicing with this dowel, but I could be entering strength or hypertrophy or power-based movements in a different way in order to gain that stimulus. And then obviously learning in the process. So I think that we need to be able to go in and start eliciting adaptable training stimuli right away, while then teaching the skill and being able to have a more progressive overload in terms of movement skill and also load capacity. But again, like we need to be not just squat, bench, and deadlifting. We need to be going through single leg patterns. We need to be looking at the vertical plane of motion in both push and pull patterns at the upper body. We need to be looking at pure hinge, and we also need to be looking at our hinge from a deadlift. And then obviously the squat needs to be a fundamental squat that maximizes range of motion, and then more a specific squat based on the tool itself. We just need to be able to go in and teach the skills, but then don't forget about training. They're there to train in the first place. So the quicker that we can start getting people strong, putting loads on their system and being able to have them adapt to these movement skills, the better off people are going to be.
So do you work directly with athletes?
Yes. I have a really interesting client list right now. I have professional baseball players. I have ex-professional football players. I have Ironman athletes that are in triathlons. I have marathon runners. I have power lifters. I have bodybuilders. And a vast majority of my people are just people that love strength training. They're enthusiasts that just want to really get great results while training hard. So I see it from all ends of the spectrum in terms of our fitness and our performance industry today. And a lot of people are kind of running into the same issues. It's not just the power lifters. It's everyone's running into pain problems, movement-based problems, and no matter what their end goal is in terms of their performance, it ends up being inhibited by just their ability to be healthy and be pain-free.
Awesome. This is our awkward pause.
I was just gonna say that this is one of our awkward pauses.
We process. So where do you think like recovery comes in?
Recovery is huge. Recovery is huge. So where do we get recovery from? If you turn on social media today, it'll be like, oh, you got to buy an $8,000 cold plunge. And then once you have the cold plunge, save up again for a $10,000 sauna. And then you have to do that every night. And, if you have no time to sleep, that's okay, because as long as you're getting your contrast therapy in at $20,000, that is what's going to get you to the next level. And it's just bullshit. What I look at as the front lines of recoverability is how smart your training programming is. What does your program look like? Is your program recoverable on paper? Is it recoverable in the gym? And that is the starting point. So, what makes a program recoverable? It's two different variables. It's being able to monitor just like the general basics of strength training, which is volume, frequency, and intensity. You go onto some social media today and you're like, wow, I don't think people even know what these three variables are. And they're the backbones of every single type of program. And these are extraordinarily important for powerlifting. And it's like they've all been forgotten. We're defying the principles of volume, frequency, intensity, doing 4 or 5 sessions per week, squat and bench and deadlift only. And it's like, no, we can't recover from that. There's too much acute stress and there's not enough recovery time. But when we look at that, we need to be able to monitor that. The other end of the spectrum is that we need to be monitoring the way our quality is being put through in the gym. There's a big difference between going in and doing the right program with the right volumes and intensities and frequencies. But then if you just execute like shit, if you're feeling everything in your spine versus your glutes and your erectors, then you're not going to elicit a hugely adaptable training effect that can help us neurologically, and it can help us mechanically. We're essentially just beating up the joints and hoping and praying that we're getting stronger. I think a large portion of being able to be at the top end of pain-free performance is being able to move well, to be able to have the targeted approach of your movement patterns and your isolation work, and being able to direct the stress where we want it and pull it back from where we don't want it. I don't know any power lifters that want more knee stress. They want more lower back stress. They want more shoulder stress, especially at the front side of the shoulder complex. They want to be able to target the key muscular tissues, and they, of course, want to be able to callus their loading system to be able to withstand that load neurologically. And I think that makes a whole lot of sense. But when we go at, the one size fits approach of like, no, I need to get this volume in, I need to hit these sets and these reps with this exercise, and we have a dogmatic mentality that a one size fits all exercise is going to be the cure all for you hitting a PR, that's where we tend to go wrong with some of the garbage volume and just simply the garbage execution that doesn't line up to recoverable states.
Yeah, and not to mention, Laura and I talk about this sometimes too, is just like outside stress, like work stress, other things plays a role in how you recover. So like if it's on paper for your workout, that's in some cases like in an ideal world, you recovered, you slept well, you had good nutrition, but that's not always reality. And I think some people just get so tied to, what's on paper, they have to do it no matter what. And they don't listen to the warning lights that are going off in their body.
We're all guilty of that, though. We are all
Yeah.
guilty of that. We know that we have biopsychosocial physical stresses in our life. I think we're living in one of the most like mentally stressful times ever. Like people are just like, what the fuck is going on? And that does take a toll on your overall stress levels. You look at your sleep quality, you look at your nutrition quality, your daily postures and positions, your relationship stress, your hydration levels, your workout the day before, the last 7 days, the last 30 days, and your overall loading capacities. All of these things play a role in terms of injury prevention and also performance enhancement. These two things go together. Injury prevention, performance enhancement, they linearly move together, contrary to popular belief. But when we think about that, we need to be actually a little bit more flexible in terms of what's being done on the day to day. This is the polar opposite of what a powerlifter wants to do. I've had clients that will be like, they'll be 4 months into a 6 month scheduled block. They'll miss one workout at month 4 and they're like, fuck it. I think I should just start the whole thing over again. And I think that's the only way I can get past this huge amount of challenge that I just had faced because my flight, I missed it and I wasn't able to train that day on bench. It's like, hold on a second. There's always a way to still create momentum. There's still a way to create micro wins and get the primary things done. I'll use myself as an example. I'm still extremely strength oriented, even with my health and longevity focus of my own training. But I want to go in every single week and I want to hit 3 to 4 big lifts. And I want to see those lifts moving up because those are key performance indicators that I want to have myself perform at the highest level. And I also manage a lot of my clients like this. I was on a late flight, absolute mess over in Chicago O'Hare last night. I was coming back from Vegas in a photo and video shoot, and I didn't get back home after sitting on the tarmac for 3.5 hours in Vegas and another hour and a half in Chicago until after midnight. I usually go to bed at like 7:30, just for relative this story to make more sense. So I get in and I know that I have a deadlift day coming. I benched yesterday in Vegas. I have a deadlift day coming, and I do 4 week training blocks where I have an introductory week. It's kind of like a pseudo deload, 2 progression weeks, and then a pain-free PR week on week 4. So I'm in week 2 right now, and I know very well that I have a scheduled lift on a deadlift. I need to hit a 4 RM, and I need to do it at 4:45. Even myself, I just wrote the book on pain-free performance. There was no way that I wasn't going to hit that 4:45 scheduled deadlift today at a 4. And that happened, and that was okay. But everything else pulled back a little bit. My priming pulled back a little bit. My accessories pulled back by 1 or 2 sets just to manage the volume. And I left today feeling really good because I got the primary thing done, which is I hit my lift, but everything else was manipulative because I needed to be on this podcast. I needed to be running my businesses. I needed to be coaching my clients. I needed to be at my best. But I knew that that primary thing still got done. But it didn't mean that I went in today on 4 hours of sleep and I force fed the entire workout and I just ran myself down into a hole that was unrecoverable. I did my primary thing and I made sure everything else was going to be conducive to having those micro wins lead to tomorrow to be able to stay consistent with the schedule. But I think we just need a little bit more flexibility, but we also just need to identify what is the highest yielding thing that you're going to do in your session today. Get that thing done and then feel it out the rest of the time. Because really the only thing that matters is consistency. And if you can consistently work hard, and if you can consistently work hard with targeted approaches to be able to be recoverable, then you're going to make progress. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. And we always joke too, like Josh, the coach is, one thing, Josh, the lifter is a complete idiot. So I think that's where we need like this to become more I don't know if mainstream is the right word, but just like it's really just common sense. Like if you talk to somebody that's being an idiot in the gym outside of the gym and just like say, okay, do you think that not eating and not sleeping and we're stressed out at work and then going in the gym and going balls to the wall was a good idea? Outside of the gym, they probably say no. Objectively, I can see the bigger picture, but in the gym, in that moment, sometimes it's hard to see past that immediate right now. This is what I have to do, and I think people just get so stuck in that rut. Like every time they're in there, they have to do what's planned, or like you said, what is the whole 8 month block is shot and they started over. Yeah, that's I think most people can look at that and say, yeah, that I understand, but it's so hard in the moment. I don't know what. I mean, I'm not a psychologist, but like, how do you get through to people like that, like that are just so gung ho in the moment, so hopped up on caffeine that they can't think objectively?
Well, there's kind of like 2 different avatars, right? There's somebody who you're coaching, and your coach should be making your qualified decisions for you. And coaching isn't like, hey, I wrote you this program, go do it, and in 8 months, tell me how it goes. That's not coaching. Coaching is being able to problem solve in the real time. This is what I do with my clients. I will be on the pulse with them multiple days per week, and I want to know if shit is happening where it's going to lead them to some sort of roadblock where they're going to be left with the decisions made on their own. I don't want my clients to make decisions on their own. That's why they hired me. I'm going to make qualified decisions for them. So it will end up being like, hey, my client will send me in. He'll be a competitive power lifter. He's also a businessman. He's traveling 2 to 3 days per week. We'll identify gyms for him. We'll make sure that the equipment is right. But we'll also know that, hey, the airlines have been really screwed right now. So we'll have optionality in terms of the days to be able to flip flop a Tuesday for a Wednesday for a Thursday. Here's the primary days versus the secondary days. But also inside of each and every program, I'll have like, hey, go 2 sets here if you're feeling good. Do 4 sets here if you're feeling fucking awesome, and be able to have them feeling their way through. When it's written down, when it's managed, when we say as the coach, it's okay to have optionality and flexibility, then all of a sudden people don't feel like a piece of shit, because that is the problem. They go into the gym and they're already feeling bad. They're like, man, my sleep sucks. I just had a fight with my wife. My kids were misbehaving at school. The only thing that's going to get me through today is training balls to the wall right now. And they go in and they force feed it, and they don't realize that they're redlining their system. They're already redline coming in, and then it's just like blasting the engine through the hood of the car and going like, hey, what the heck happened? At least I got that workout in. And we've been told that this is okay. And it's not just powerlifting. It's bodybuilding, it's running, never miss a run. Even if you had 1 hour of sleep, go out and get that 10 miles in. It's like, hold on a second. But I think managing professionally my clients that have these big type A aspirations in terms of their performance, giving them, I hate to say the word excuse, but giving them the optionality to be able to be flexible, I know that that is going to get them closer to their goals far quicker. But they need to be told that that's okay. On the opposite side of things, if somebody is just simply following a program, it's going to take a more mature person to be able to go in and be able to monitor on a day-to-day. For people that are following, say, my Unbreakable training app, we have a bunch of different awesome programs in there. We have a powerlifting program, bodybuilding program, pain-free performance program. We have like every iteration of the program, but I'm not necessarily managing every single person through that. They have all the tools, but it's kind of on them to do it. I really like when these people have wearable devices to kind of like go, hey, your recovery score is a 1 out of 100 today. Maybe we shouldn't go for that bench press PR. I think that is a useful thing, but also for the wrong person, they're going to get a lot of excuses and stop training hard. So you have to be able to, take the good with the bad with wearable device, HRV statuses, recoverability statuses coming from the different techs. But I think that is a useful thing. When we take away our mindset of like, hey, I need to win this workout, or I need to win this week, or even I need to win this month or this training block, and we look at, hey, how about this macro stack of the next 6 months or the next 12 months? What does your next 5 years look like as a lifter? What does the next 10 years look like as a lifter? What is you at 70 wanting to still be strong, agile, athletic, and lifting heavy weights look like? And what are you doing today to make sure that that happens decades down the line? That comes with maturity. That also comes with some life experience. Not a whole lot of 22-year-olds are having that mentality right now, but it also comes when people are forced to make changes, and that happens from injuries and burnout.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to open a can of worms here. So there are a lot of, and this is probably just me going on my own little tangent rant here, but there's a lot of really popular coaches on social media that have a huge following that's 75% or more bullshit. If we can burn the whole thing down and start over from scratch, how do we make better coaches? Obviously you're going to say read your book, right? But how would you redo the whole education system, the requirements for coaches, so that we can have a better, there's just so much bullshit out there. And if you are somebody that wants to get into strength and conditioning and you know nothing, most of what you're going to find on the internet and social media is bullshit. So if you could, in an ideal world, start this whole thing over, how would we structure it?
This is a great question. This is a question that I get all the time, interestingly enough. We've done 20,000 certified coaches in person at Pain Free Performance Specialist certification in 8.5 years. So I've seen a lot of different coaches come through. I've seen who is doing really well, who is struggling, and who's not going to be in the profession in 3 to 6 months. But I think the big disconnect today is that we need to just be having a better principle-based education and experiential education. But when I say the word education, I don't believe that everyone has to go to Harvard and have a 4-year degree and then follow that up with a master's and a doctorate. And then people get mad at me and they go, oh, John, well, you're Dr. John Rusin. You're telling people not to get a doctorate? Absolutely. I don't think that having a doctorate has anything to do with what I currently do with my education systems, with my coaching style, or with my overall mission to be able to have pain-free performance be more mainstreamed. I do believe that I had the right upbringing, but I also had the right experiential education that allowed me to get decades in front of some of my peers just for being in the right rooms and having an open mind and learning. So I do believe that we do need education. I don't believe it's a 4-year degree. I think that there is going to be an emergence of fitness professionals, personal trainers, and strength coaches and other allied health professionals being able to go into more professional education in terms of 2-year associate's degree and professional development. We have a number of colleges across America right now that use pain-free performance in this model. They'll get people into a personal training certificate program. They'll be able to utilize our book, utilize our curriculum, and obviously a bunch of other ones as well, and be able to have them entering the marketplace as a personal trainer or as a coach. And it is very hands-on learning. It is very tactile-based learning. And it is experiential learning because there's a lot of practical components to that 1.5 to 2 years. I think there's a huge amount of benefit from that because we see coaches coming in through our certification program today and they have all the credentials in the world. You look at their resume, you're like, God damn, like you should own Equinox, not be working at Equinox. Like your education is amazing. And then they can't coach another human being. There's a big difference between having the knowledge and having the application. We have more knowledge than we've ever had in the world today. We have GPT, we have Grok, we have all of these things that could teach us so much. But you know what it can't teach us is how to manage somebody moving. It can't teach us how to manage somebody moving while they're in pain. And it can't teach us how to manage somebody moving while in pain, while having life stresses and being able to navigate something on the fly to be able to problem solve. And I think all those things starts with real education that is going to be hands-on, experiential, mentorship, and an apprenticeship program that I think could up-level the entire industry. You look at other professions, and people are going to hate me by saying this, but look at hair salons, look at hairstylists. They're licensed by the state and they have a bare minimum education, but they have professional expertise because they were in mentorship, they were in internships. They had to actually go through and get their clinical, or not their clinical hours, but their work hours in order to get that license. I'm not saying that personal trainers need to be licensed, but I think that that trajectory of being able to be a service-based profession, you should prove that you can actually service somebody before you go in and start writing programs and managing people like shit on the gym floor. I think that could do a whole lot of good. And the second caveat to that question is like, if we could just delete Instagram, I think the whole fitness industry would most likely be better.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I think you kind of touched on where I was hoping you were going to go there, is just having a higher, I don't want to say a higher barrier of entry, but essentially it is to some degree, because like right now you can take somebody that graduated high school with no strength and conditioning background, no physical education background, no nothing, no nutrition background. They can sign up for a online personal training certification course, and in a couple hours they're now a certified personal trainer. And there's just no, and some of those end up being great coaches, great trainers, but a lot of them really don't, because they also have no need to pursue more education or anything like that, because their title of certified personal trainer is all they were really wanting. And now they can advertise that and market it. And now they might have now they go to school for marketing and they can market themselves as this, expert certified personal trainer because they're certified, blah, blah, blah. And there's nothing stopping them from doing that. And I think that's one of my big pet peeves is like I know a lot of really, really good coaches that nobody has ever heard of, because they're not a marketing person. They're a great coach. They're very good at what they do, but there's other people that they can sell themselves and they're really not selling anything of substance. It's just, yeah. Anyway, off my tangent.
I got a couple of thoughts on this though, because good marketing will only get you so far. Results and relationships will be the backbone of your success as a career professional in the fitness industry, period. You can only bullshit for so long. You can only get people utilizing your $20 program on Instagram because I have a huge fat ass. I'm going to sell it to everybody until people are getting hurt, people are burning out, and people go, yo, screw this person. Like, are you kidding me? And then they see through the veil of bullshit. So I think that there's that if you can get results, if you can create relationships, if you can be a career learner, then you can get past that 3-year or so mark is where everyone kind of ends being a professional in the field and they go and sell real estate or whatever. They give up on the profession, but they never realize that you need to get to, thousands of hours. 10,000 hours is probably achieved in anywhere from 5 to 7 years of full-time personal training. And that is is your entry into being able to be a great coach and then be able to have a little bit of more notoriety. But everyone today thinks that they just toggle on Instagram, they want to be an online trainer and they want to do all this stuff. And it's just not the way that you will ultimately become successful. I know more people today with multiple million followers that can't make a dime than personal trainers that you've never heard of with 50 followers that are making six figures plus in the gym doing great work with their clients. This allure back to social media, the me mentality of the way that our culture is today, it doesn't necessarily line up with financial gain. It's, oh man, they're faking looking like they're doing things, and many times they're not. Being the CEO of Pain Free Performance Specialist certification, we have so much data coming at us from our big gym sponsors, from our partners, from all the coaches that go through. And I see coaches that are under the radar absolutely crushing it. They are doing world-class work with their clients. They are making great money. They have a career doing this. They're 15, 20 years into it. And that's what I hope for every single coach. It really has nothing to do with your social media. And especially if you're coaching people in person, I don't see that there's a huge market for going out and making sure that your Instagram and your YouTube is on point. It's the people in front of you that you can connect with, that there's a real human being. And I think that that is a really an untapped place in the industry today. But this is a really interesting topic because we see that there's many self-fulfilling prophecies in the industry today where somebody will be a personal trainer or a strength coach for a year, maybe 2 years, and they'll go like, okay, now I'm ready to go big because I see all these other people making millions of dollars online training and having these apps and all this stuff. And they go, that's where I need to be. I'm too good to work with these fucking peasants in person. I need to go make $1 million online. And then they end up going into this field that's all just falsified. And they try to go in, they're hiring business coaches, and they're going in and spending tens of thousands of dollars on these different funnel systems and websites and app developments. And all of a sudden they run up a bill and they go, oh, I can't be successful here. If I can't be successful here, I'm unsuccessful as a human, and I'm going to move the profession because the profession failed me. The profession didn't fail you. You failed yourself because of high expectations that weren't necessarily there, or just trying to move too quick, too early, and not having paid the dues to be able to be great at your craft.
So I'm guilty of this. Like, I sometimes put more energy into trying to publish things on social media because everybody expects it.
Yeah.
But I don't
Mm.
give a shit about it, to be honest. But I just feel like that's what other people want to see. But yeah, you're right. That isn't the nut and bolts of coaching. So maybe I'll shut down my Instagram. How about that?
I wouldn't necessarily say that, but the problem is that people will look at non-comparables to themselves. They'll look at, oh, Dr. John Rusin, he has this cert and he has this book now and he has this big online following and his social media is coming through and reaching all these people. I should just do that. And they didn't see that my first 11 years as a professional in this field, I didn't even have social media. They didn't see that. So it's like where you're at right now is not where I'm at or where you're at right now. You have to look at the entire trajectory of how it took to get there. My biggest break was I was sitting over in China, in Beijing, working for the Chinese Olympic Committee. This is 11 years ago at this point in time, and I had nothing to do over there. So I was coaching my teams, I was coaching my clients and athletes, getting them ready for Olympic prep. And then there was a 13-hour time difference. And nobody spoke English in China. It was like me and two German dudes and a guy from Switzerland that I wasn't too fond of. So like at Olympic Center, I wasn't like having huge conversations over beers after work. So I was just sitting there like, what the hell am I supposed to do with my time? At that point in time, I think I was just graced because I had a editor reach out to me, tnation.com, the old kingmaker. And they said, hey, we got your referral from somebody who's currently writing for us. Do you want to put an article together? And I'm like, hell yeah. I'm like, I've been reading T Nation for like 12 years at this point. Like, hell yeah, I'll do it. So I'm sitting over there in China in my little dormitory. I'm just like typing up articles. And I had so much to say because I had 11 years of experience. 11 years of experience doing high-end things with the highest end clients in the world. And I just shared what I was doing with them. And it would take me like 45 minutes, an hour to type a 5,000 word article out, to shoot a couple videos for them at Olympic Center, send it off. And all of a sudden people are like, holy shit, this is good. And not only was it good, they went in and started using some of the stuff and they used it and it worked. That was key. The result was there. And then that led to article after article after article. I ended up doing 330 articles for T Nation within a 4.5 year period. It was the most any author has ever written per capita of time. And that was cool because I had nothing better to do at that point in time. I just was sitting on a lot of information. And I think about a year into writing on T Nation, people were clicking my bio and they were like, oh, this guy doesn't even have social media. Hey, I got a tip. Maybe you should put up Facebook and Instagram. Maybe you should have a website or something. And all that stuff happened about 12 years in. About 14 years into my career, that's the first time I ever made money online. I had functional hypertrophy training, FHT, the original functional bodybuilding program. Boom, that thing blew up like crazy. We launched that thing, and thousands of people first month were jumping in on that program. Some of the best coaches in the world were using it, end users were using it. It was awesome. But that was 14 years in. And people look at like, well, now you have this app, you have this book, you have this course that's the biggest in the country. Yeah, I'm 20 years in now. So you just have to be patient with the process, and nothing's easy. Like even that, nothing was easy in that entire like kind of span of my career. But I think that when you love what you do and you want to share it with other people, and you're looking at being selfless and trying to get other people results and creating relationships that last and being able to just do good shit that works for people, I think that that is so rare today as a coach, that you can easily identify yourself as a top performer and a top trajectory change if you can simply just go through that instead of the me mentality. How do you truly be a service-based profession? Because that's what we are.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
So shifting gears, probably the most difficult question I'll ask you today is, when you are training, what's your go-to song? Music.
It'll switch. So my wife and I, we are psychopaths because we will
Yes.
listen to the same song on repeat for an entire workout.
Oh,
Yes. So
well,
I
what's
will
the
stay in the
song?
zone it will switch. It'll switch probably every week to 2 weeks, or I'll hear something and I'll be like, ooh, that got me those tingles, You know that feeling where you're like, you want it to hurt just a little bit so you can go in and give that effort for that session. My last one for the last 2 weeks, I've been having it on repeat in the mornings training, has been Wale, Ambition. It has Meek Mill in it, and it like comes in hard. It's like, it's not about the money, it's not about the fame. It's about having ambition. Like, man, that gets me rolling. But I went off playlist today. I went off playlist on my deadlifts today. I mentioned that I had to go in and get that 445 for 4, and I knew I needed a little bit of juice in the tank, so I got Walleye out of there, and I got my ultimate go-to is Eminem Mockingbird. Like that one gets me so juiced up. Like I get shaking before I go in for that top end set. And nothing feels better than just getting that and being like, wow, did that feel awesome? Lay on the ground for 30 seconds after and just be like, I need to tune out of this Eminem right now and maybe go back to something different. I can't sustain this for the rest of the workout.
Both of those are incorrect. We were looking for something more along the lines of 80s power ballad.
No.
Yeah. Know your audience.
Yeah, people are like,
Wrong.
Wale, who the hell's that?
Nice.
No, that's cool. I always like to hear what people are listening to, and that's one thing that I've somehow picked up doing when I'm coaching lifters at competitions is when they hand me their headphones to go onto the platform, I hold them up to my ear and listen to see what they're listening to.
Vibing.
Yep.
Vibing.
So we do every week we do a powerlifting situation and kind of a new lifter tip. So I'm actually going to ask you,
Okay.
John. It's a hypothetical, but it's a very frequent thing. Anyway, so the situation is you're 6 weeks out from a competition. You're warming up for heavy squats and you feel a twinge in your low back that includes a sharp, nervy sensation. You decide today's probably not the best idea, so you shut it down and go home. Do you come up with a plan to address the issue going forward, or do you just ignore it and assume it'll get better? What do you do? What is somebody in this situation? What should they do?
This is a great question. And this is something that I deal with almost on a day-to-day with the people that I'm working with. First thing I would say that if you feel a sharp twinge in your back, don't just shut down. That is the opportunity to be able to put out the fire right then and there. So I think we shouldn't stop training that day like, oh, fuck it, my session needs to change. Then change it. Then let's do some things that drive some blood flow into the area. Let's do some things that are pain-free performance based. That means that we just make smart modifications that don't hurt so we can continue on training that day. And more so, we just want to continue to move. And then after that session, even if it is modified, then we go back in and we use the 48-hour rule. The 48-hour rule is so pivotal. You feel something happen, and there's a lot of emotions to thinking that you're hurt when maybe you didn't even do anything. And I say to my clients, especially the ones that are a little bit more egotistical, that are trying to push some weights, I say, hey, let's give it 48 hours. Most likely that was your big session that you just got tweaked in. You're going to have a lower session that next day. Let's get out. Let's do your warm up. Let's maybe go for a walk and see how that's feeling. The next day, let's check in. So we're 48 hours after the perceived injury. I can tell you about 50% of the time, most people are like, oh, yep, actually, I'm feeling awesome. It was no big deal. I was just overreacting. Because you're 6 weeks out from your meet, there's a lot of emotions in. So you feel one thing go wrong and you're like, oh, everything's fucked. My whole fucking life's fucked. Ah! And then the emotions take over, and that can exacerbate any sort of pain signal. So that's why we need to chill for 48 hours. And 1 out of 2 times, man, things are feeling a lot better, and we don't even have to make any modifications in your programming. The other 50% of the time, we have to go, okay, we're going to have to devote some time into getting healthy first, knowing very well that we have 2 crossroads. You can either be healthy and maybe a little bit detrained, but you can go in and be the mental beast that you want to be in competition. Or we can try to force feed pain for the next 3 weeks, probably get hurt again, have a vicious injury cycle, and miss the meet altogether. Some people choose that path. I like to have people go in and make some modifications, get feeling good. And 6 weeks is still a whole lot of time to get healthy and then be able to callous the nervous system to be able to handle heavy weights. So I do believe that we do need to make modifications. And there's not one ultimate program that will get you where you need to be. There's many different paths that can lead to PRs. And I think that needs to be more mainstreamed in terms of the thought process of being able to have optionality and variability with your programming. Things are in the road. We got to go around that thing in the road. We just don't run through it. That makes no sense. You're not going to total your car and, kill the deer in the process.
That's a good analogy. I like that one.
Very visual.
Yeah.
It's because I'm in Wisconsin. Milwaukee Bucks, baby.
Nice.
So the other thing we'll ask you for is kind of a new lifter tip. It's something that, a new lifter getting into powerlifting. This could be open-ended. It could be recovery. It could be whatever. Just what's one tip that you would, give to new lifters getting into the sport?
I think we need to adhere to the principles of progressive overload, especially if you're a new lifter getting into the sport. Getting stronger over time is extraordinarily important. It is going to be the foundation that almost everything else is based on. If you don't have the progressive overload programming mindset, then you are going to fail in every other attempt to try to fine-tune your programming. That being said, I think that progressive overload can't just be looked at as 1 lift or 3 lifts. We have to look at progressive overload as getting stronger as a state. And when we think about that, having a little bit more cycling in your programming, even though you are green and new, the thing that you're going to want to do is specialize very early on. But that goes against every principle that we know to be true and effective in terms of barbell and strength sport, is that we need to be able to have general physical preparedness and general physical capacities that can create the potential to be able to reach top end strength in terms of a specific movement pattern and a specific lift. So though we want progressive overload with cycling of a well-rounded plan that gets you strong, that has you start building targeted muscle, that improves your mobility, and has you in a recoverable state where we're doing a little bit of cardio and conditioning as well, even though that's very counterintuitive to what you would most likely hear. But the more prepared that we can be, as soon as we hit the specialty button, the higher your glass ceiling is going to be.
Awesome.
So where do people go to get that program?
So you can come in and train with me on the Unbreakable training app. It's becomeunbreakable.com. It's awesome. It's actually the programming that I use and I depend on for my own body. The book is a really awesome resource. Josh, it's no big deal that you haven't read the whole thing because it's 576 pages and it is like a coffee table book. It's that in depth. You can go get that anywhere books are sold. Amazon is going to be the best bet because they're usually discounting it on a regular. And if anyone wants to learn more about pain-free performance and our certification and our education system, it's at painfreetraining.com.
Yeah, and the book's on. So I'm on Amazon right now. It's 54.38 on Amazon for the hardcover, and it's 29.99 for the Kindle version. So
I'd go for the hardcover. Like, I
yeah,
have no skin in the game. Amazon sets the pricing, Amazon does all the stuff. But when you hold this thing, it will make total sense why it's the price that it is and why every other book is like 20 or $30. This thing is, it's a university style textbook made to be able to have programming and all of the different intricacies of rebuilding your patterns and prepping your body for pain-free performance.
yeah. So I was skimming through, and one of the things that, this is going to sound dumb, but I liked all the pictures because there's actual demonstrations of how to do different things, but there's also a lot of QR codes for videos of how to do things, which that's the first time I've ever seen that in a textbook. So, but then again, I've been out of school for 20 plus years. So,
It's not just you. So that is the first time that a book like this has ever printed that medium. So the reason that people don't QR is that it is an exorbitant amount of work. It took us 8 months to get 1,200 unique QRs through. So when you go through, you can see me doing a hybrid stance barbell deadlift. Boom, you read a 2-page spread. You see me doing the thing. You see the concentric, eccentric change of direction phase in picture form. You QR in, it brings you to a private YouTube. You see me going through it. And then if you want to improve that, you go to the next section that shows you how to rebuild the pattern with the exact protocols that you would do to get out of back pain or shoulder pain. And then you go in and QR that, and it actually brings you through the entire pain protocol or the warm-up protocol to prep for your big lifts. So that was really cool because that's something that I wanted to do with the book. I'm like, I've taught all these courses, I coach so many people, but when we're talking about movement, it's not good enough to have like a 2D picture, even though they're beautiful pictures and charts in the book, the gold standard. I wanted to QR because you have to watch movement. And that is the starting point to be able to learn about your movement.
I love that interactive book. That's super cool.
It's the wow factor that when people do get it in their hands, they're like, whoa, holy shit. Like you can QR to this. I've never seen this before. And
Mm.
it is a big differentiator. And we've been having reviews about people being able to learn in
Nice.
multiple different mediums off of this.
yeah. And a lot of people, I mean, some people can read and put the pieces together, but like, I think for the majority, yeah, they need the visual with the text to make it make
Yeah.
sense.
For sure.
And
Yeah.
there's not
Video.
many ways to be able to demo something for people, like, because you can't be in person with every single reader, right? So I think that was a pretty cool addition there.
Yeah. That must have made the logistics just, oh,
It's a reason why the book got pushed back twice. So it was about 18 months that we thought that this project was going to take. And then it was 24 months, and then it was 29 months. So a big reason of that was that we wanted to go above and beyond in terms of these like extra resources. The programming turned into we were just going to do one program. Yeah, fuck it. We're going to do 5 programs. We're going to have 3, 4, 5, 6 day a week. We're going to have different goal sets. We're going to have different pain protocols. And we just went nuts on the programming sections because that's what people are going to go in and use right away. They're going to go, cool, I want to train on this plan. John sounds like he knows his shit and he knows what he's talking about. I'm dealing with lower back pain. They're going to go right into the programming. Then they're going to go into another section to try to fix their own pain, which is super awesome as well. Then they're going to go into the next section and try to improve their movement patterns and try to re-optimize. And then at that point, they're like, wow, this is really good because it's working. I'm going to go back in and start reading some of the content then.
Yeah, no,
nice.
I'm excited. Like I said, I've had it for less than a week, so I have not read the whole, what is it, 500 and some pages you said?
76. Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. So I get a pass here. It's been less than a week. I'm not a speed reader, but yeah, I definitely, I'm definitely excited to go through it in detail myself, both for myself, but and my clients. So I think it's a great
Mm.
resource. I have no skin in the game, obviously here. Like I'm not getting paid to promote this thing, but just going through it, I think it's pretty legit. Also, I call bullshit when I see it. So if it was shitty, I'd be like, hey John, thanks for being on. Your book sucks.
Well, I mean, this podcast yielded your low carb, high protein pancakes
Right,
and
right.
pain free training, like a win win.
Yep. Yeah. Win-win.
Nice.
Cool. All right, we'll do this last part. I don't know if we're going to keep it in or not because it might be not as funny as I think. But so I was going to have Laura read it, but she can't get her computer to work. So I'm just going to go through a list of words or phrases, and you're just going to say yes or no without context.
Okay.
So, static stretching before training,
No.
ice baths,
Yes.
foam rolling,
Yes.
tempo work,
Yes.
CrossFit,
No.
blood flow restriction training,
No.
Bon Jovi.
No. Sorry.
Damn it. Episode's over. Okay. Massage guns,
Yes.
planned deload weeks,
No.
intermittent fasting,
No.
chiropractors,
No.
yoga.
Yes.
All right, that's all I have. Laura, do you have any other ones to add in?
Toilet paper under.
No.
Mountains.
Yes.
Ocean.
Yes.
Handstands.
No.
Lunges.
Yes.
Farm work.
Yes.
Farm work.
Farm work. I mean, you get farmer strong, you know. They call it a farmer's carry for something. I mean,
Yeah,
and I live on a farm, so, there's that. Functional fitness.
Yes.
That's all I got. Random things have run out of my head.
got it. Man, sorry. I'm blown away by the Bon Jovi. No, not gonna lie. I kind of quit listening after that.
I might have to cycle that back in. Like I think you two have pushed me to my new on repeat maybe for tomorrow. All right, so if I'm going to go in tomorrow and I'm going to do a high intensity interval session, what Bon Jovi song do I need to listen to 12 times to get me through?
Bad medicine.
Bad Medicine. It's going to go on tomorrow.
All right,
I'll report back.
please
All
do.
right, all right. So the session after that, sulfur, Slipknot.
Okay. Okay.
And then we want to know, like, which one were you actually able to lift heavier with? Because mine's going to be better. Not that it's a competition, but it's a competition.
Whatever.
Sorry.
I'll report back.
Okay. Where can people find you on the socials?
At Dr. John Rusin, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube.
Can you spell Dr. John Rusin?
At DrJohnRusin.
Yes, it's that Rusin part. I'd be like Russin.
My son gets so mad because he's 10 years old and he's a judo champion. He plays basketball and baseball, and they announce his name wrong every single time. And every time that they say Cameron Rusin up to bat, instead of going up to bat, he looks at me like I did him wrong. Like, hey man, like why do we have a name that's not spelled right? Like, what did you do to me? It's like every single time.
I totally get it. I would go up on the podium and someone would be like, Laura Strum. Like, fuck. Really? Like, can you just get my name right at some point ever? Or that'll be on the phone call and they'll say it wrong. And I'm like, thanks, mom. Like, mom, like my mother still doesn't pronounce my name right. I'm still Strum. So I understand your son.
Yeah, I do too.
Well, we really
Right.
ended this episode on a depressing note here.
Well, no one can fuck up your name, Josh. Josh.
Okay,
How does somebody fuck that up? They can't.
I understand, but literally, so USA Powerlifting, who I was on the executive board for, I sponsored one of the events, and they spelled my name wrong on the name badge that I got, and I was on the board. So I have some experience with that.
Happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
Did
Anyway,
did the name badge say like shithead?
no,
or-
it was
okay.
RHOR instead of ROOHR.
Oh, yeah.
Are
Okay.
you still on the board after that?
No, I'm not actually. I'm not. I stepped down. That's not the reason I stepped down, though. But maybe it contributed. No. Anyway, wow, we really took a left turn there.
Yeah, sorry. My fault.
Yeah. So what is your, I guess, timeline, and or like if somebody wanted to work with you, are you even working with new clients, or I guess, what's that process look like? What would be the next step if somebody listens to this and they're like, hey, I actually want to work with this guy?
Yeah, to reach out, personalized coaching is about having a personal connection. So I have an application process where somebody will go through, tell me about what you're dealing with. It's probably like 15 or 20 questions. You can see that at drjohnrusincoaching.com. And you go through and we'll have a qualified conversation. I will be honest with you if I can help you or not. And if I can't, I will make sure that I send you to somewhere where you can get qualified help. But I think that that's a really great option. And for other people that just want to go in on programming and test the waters, become unbreakable.com inside the Unbreakable training app. It's a really nice spot to see some of this method in action.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, I like it. That's pretty much all I have. Laura, any further follow-up questions? John, anything you want to add?
No, this has been really fun. I appreciate it. And it feels good to get back talking about barbell sport and talking about powerlifting. I think that not a whole lot of people realize that that's the way I came up. I'm out there talking about pain-free performance and trying to champion a health-centric fitness approach to training. And a lot of my influences and a lot of my methods are based on a lot of the principles that came out of early adoption of basic powerlifting for athletes. And I think that that's a very powerful stance to be able to step on, because I think it's the right way in order to go in and achieve pain-free performance, which is to be injury-free, but also go in and hit those PRs. That's what pain-free performance is all about.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Laura, any other questions?
I got nothing.
Awesome. All right. Well, we will definitely put a link to where you can buy the book, where you can find your training app, and link to your certification courses all in the description of the episode. So if anybody is interested in that and didn't quite catch it while we were talking, you can find the links there. John, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciated the conversation, and actually would love a follow-up at some point after you explore some more 80s music. But for right now, I'm not sure if we're going to have you back until then.
All right. I'll have to tag you, and then I'll put it into my Instagram carousel with Bon Jovi. I got you.
Perfect. All right. I
Or in the
appreciate
right
it.
back.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, John. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And until next time, we will catch you all later.
Bye now.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode of the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, please remember to subscribe and share it with your friends.